Hey guys, what's hanging? So I'm going to be teaching you how to make these fidget spinners, and they cost about $3 to $4 to make, and they're really simple. I'll show you some more designs. This one we call the Mac Daddy. This one we used 4 bearings, but most of our designs only use 1. This is the triangle. Another design is this triangle. It's the same thing, but you cut notches into it. This is the Batman one, where you just put the bearing in the center and the weights on the sides. And the WD-40, which is pretty much the same thing, but not Batman shaped. Okay, so what you're going to need to make these is you're going to need some hobby board from Home Depot. It's the same thickness as a bearing, and so you can see there, just bring a bearing, if you have one, to measure the size. And then you're going to need a 3/8 inch steel rod for the weights that go in the holes. And you are also going to need epoxy glue so that you can glue in the bearing and the weights so they don't fall out. And then if you need a bearing, finally, you can buy them on Amazon for really cheap, or you can take one out of an old skateboard or scooter, or any vehicle you have. So we are going to be doing a Batman shaped spinner for the purposes of this video, and it is what you're going to do. You're going to print out a piece of paper with whatever shape you want on it, and then you cut it out, you stick tape on the back, and then you stick it to some wood. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a pencil and just trace the outline of the Batman logo, and then we're going to cut it out. So in order to make the Batman spinner, you're going to need a more intricate saw, like this jigsaw here. If you don't have a jigsaw at your house or around, then you can just take a normal saw and cut it out. It'll be difficult with the Batman shaped ones, so triangle would probably be your best bet. And let's just start cutting it. So in the end, this is what it'll look like, all cut out and everything. And the next step you're going to want to do is find the center of the spinner and draw a straight line completely down that. Okay, so next you're going to take your bearing and set it down in the center and try to get it as exact as possible. You might be able to measure this somehow, but you just take it there and you mark a little line or circle right in the very center along that line you drew earlier, like right here, that little mark, and then you're going to cut it out there. Okay, so with us here we have a drill where we will be drilling the weights in the sides of the wings, or whatever that part of him is. Slogan. So we'll be drilling holes right here and here, farthest out as we can so that it spins for longer, and we're just going to drill a hole in the center. If you don't have a drill press like this, you can just use a normal drill. Any normal drill will work, but this works the best. Next, you have to make sure that your drill bit is the same size as the bearing, which is 7/8. So for this part, you might want adult supervision. drilling to ensure it doesn't break, you want to drill halfway through one side and then flip it over and drill halfway through the other. Next, we're going to figure out where the weights go. And how we do that is we take a ruler or something, a long flat thing, and we want to draw a line right down the middle of the spinner. Just make sure it's all lined up and even. You want to draw your line. And then is what you want to do is you want to measure from the bearing out, not from outside in, but from the bearing out. You want to measure the same distance on each side, which I'd say is about an inch for mine, and put a little dot right there so you know where to cut the next holes. To make sure our drill is perfect, we want to use an awl to line it up right in those dots. Then you just want to, hold on, you just gotta line it up right on top. Then you just hammer down on each side to make sure that the drill slides in nice and smooth so that it cuts perfect holes. So we want to drill our holes for the weights 3/8 inch. So that the bearing slides in nice and tight and doesn't fall out and there's no cracks. Okay, so now we're going to drill our holes. Okay, next step, we need to cut the rod for the weights. We're going to take this old piece of wood that we've drilled a hole in and use it to measure how much we need to cut so that we know how thick the weights need to be. So we just let it hang there, and then we take a hacksaw and we just start cutting straight down. And then we take this away, and once we've left a mark, we can just keep cutting. Okay, so we're going to put the weights that we just cut. They're sometimes hot, but we took a while to cut them, so they're not. And we are going to just place them right in these holes. If you can't really push them down in the holes and they're not going in, just kind of hammer them in lightly so that but not too hard, because they have broken. If you hammer too hard, they'll break like this one. Okay, now that we know they fit, we take them back out and we use some of the super glue here to glue all of the weights in. Oh, they're all dripping out. Now we have to wait for that glue to dry. Okay, so next we use a belt grinder and put it in this vise here to sand down the spinner. If you don't have a belt grinder, then you can just use normal sandpaper It might take a little bit longer, but not too much. Okay, so next you're just going to sand it down because sometimes the weights stick out and you want it all nice and smooth. So you just hold it here and then make sure your fingers are out of the way because that can be bad. And then okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to glue the bearing in. And we're going to, well, we're not going to use glue this time, not super glue. We're going to use the epoxy so that it stays in nice and firm if you drop it or anything. So as what you're going to do, you're going to come and take some tape and just plate. You don't want any epoxy getting in the bearing because then it won't spin as well. So you just place the bearing on this blue tape. And then you take an X-Acto knife or just any kind of knife and you just cut it out along that. Okay, here's what it's gonna look like, and when you push it into the spinner here, you just want to push it in so that the blue side's facing down. This is a two-part epoxy, so you're just gonna want to squeeze, not too hard. You just want a little bit. Nothing's coming out on the right side. Squeezing on the right side now. Stuff came out. There we go. And then you just want to take a stir stick and mix those two together really well. Okay, so you're just going to want to take some epoxy and then you're just going to gently rub it along the inside without it dripping out. And just kind of rub it along those lines. Okay, so you take the bearing and put it blue side down and just push it right into that hole. There we go. Keep it all, and then just leave it there and let it dry. A little update on the bearings is this is what they look like when they come, and is all you gotta do to get rid of that red ring. We found it's better if you take it out. You just take a screwdriver and just pry it in there and pop the red ring out. And then you just want to take carb and throttle cleaner. Yeah, carbon throttle cleaner. And you just want to spray it. You just want to spray it down in here so that the bearing is all nice and smooth. Okay, so now it's dry and we're ready to take the blue tape off. Next, we're going to take a rag and then get some Danish oil to varnish the wood and make it look all nice and shiny. And of course you can leave this part out if you don't want to do this, but in my opinion it looks better. Okay, so it still needs to dry a little bit, but this is it. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and keep hanging in there.